And good evening and welcome to this week's edition of the Pete Mezzetti Show. My guest this evening is Joseph Shea from the Essex Rotary. Joseph, welcome. How are you?
I'm doing fine.
Good. So we're here tonight to talk about the Essex Rotary and everything else going on with the Rotary, but we're also here to talk about the Shad bake that the Rotary does. Is that correct? But before we get to that, tell me a little bit about yourself and how long you've been involved with the Rotary.
Well, I'm actually a building contractor.
Okay.
I've lived in Essex since 1985.
All right.
And back in the day, any good businessman knew that if you wanted to be successful, you had to join Rotary.
That's right.
Pre-internet.
Exactly.
And so I joined the club in 1994.
Okay.
And it's been a terrific run for me. And I've met lots of colleagues and been a participant ever since.
Nice. You like it?
I do.
Yeah. Now, typically, what types of events does the Rotary get involved with?
We have a group of events, but we're most known for our Shad bake,
Right.
Which all the proceeds on that are have to do with scholarships, and we now have teamed up with the Connecticut River Museum.
Okay. Sure.
We do other events where we give books out to school children once a year. We have a nice program we do at the elementary school.
Okay.
We've backed art programs at the Essex Art Association for some time. Mm-hmm. Those are, we used to do a golf tournament, but we've moved away from that.
Okay.
It became too costly to pull off the event.
Yeah.
And also, we're dealing with a smaller club size now, and the Shad bake is our main fundraiser.
Exactly. So tell us a little bit about the Shad bake. How did it get started, and maybe a little bit of history behind the Shad bake?
Sure. I'm doing this all from memory.
That's okay.
And I don't have the full history down,
That's
but
okay.
I can hit some of the highlights.
Absolutely.
It was actually 60 years ago this year that the first Shad bake was at the Dauntless Yacht Club,
Okay.
which is a really small building that most people don't even know where it is, at the end of Main Street. And apparently they did a dinner with Shad, and it was such a hit. It became the premise of a became
Okay.
And then this is way before my time.
Right.
And then as the Shad bake became more and more popular, for many years it was held at the elementary school in Centerbrook.
Yep.
And at one point, and probably one of the most memorable Shad bakes ever, happened in 1985, I believe, when there was the big flood that knocked out power and streams overflowed. But the Shad bake continued, and they had over 1,000 people at the school,
Really?
even though the storm had hit the night before. And probably what most people would have a hard time believing is that the buses would come up from New York City. And it was so popular that the buses would come and park, and people would come from out of state just to come to the Shad bake.
They would bus them in.
They were busing them in.
For the Shad bake. Oh my goodness.
Now this falls into what I like to call the local legend.
Okay.
I've heard that the numbers were up to 1,500. And back in the day, there used to be at least 70 Rotary members.
Okay.
And back then, wives were very involved in the Rotary Club. So if you just double that number, there was quite a bit of help.
Wow.
And that's pretty much the basis. So this year is actually a pretty significant year because it's our 60th anniversary.
Okay.
Which is, not too many people know much about the Shad bake, but
No.
those that do know about it know how unique it is.
Exactly. Now, what type of fish is Shad? I've never had it, so.
Okay, I'm going to give you my explanation, which
All right.
I know that anyone who's an expert is going to cringe when they hear me say this.
That's
but
okay.
Basically,
Yeah.
shad lives in the ocean,
Okay.
And it's really remarkable. That every year, right at this time, about 2 weeks ago, the shad come back to where they were spawned.
Okay.
And so there's different shad. There's shad that comes from Delaware, and there's shad that comes from the Hudson River,
right.
and there's Connecticut River shad.
Okay.
And they're different. The Connecticut River shad were spawned here,
right.
and
Obviously.
the shad comes into the mouth of the river and comes up to where the fresh water and I forget what it's called, brackish, where the brackish water line is.
Okay.
And it's right in the Essex harbor. And so the shad actually come up the river and they literally stop and stay in the water right in the Essex area until two things happen.
Okay.
It takes about 2 or 3 days for the fish to switch from salt water to regular water.
To fresh water.
To fresh water.
Yeah.
And then the temperature has to be 50-something degrees. I want to say it's like 56 degrees. I'm not positive of the number.
It's got to be warm, but not freezing cold.
And this spring has just been as difficult as possible. And the shad fishermen that I work with were delayed by 2 weeks.
Oh, no.
But it does, I've been doing this for a while.
Okay.
And there's always something that makes it really difficult for the shad fishermen to get into the river. And so this year it was just the prolonged cold and rainy weather. So if you can imagine trying to net, they use nets to catch the fish.
Yeah.
And to get into the river with all the debris, and then we had a very high river level for the last 2 weeks, so which makes it all the debris is floating down the river, and they have to dodge all that.
Yeah,
and it's a big challenge for them. So anyway, after the fish make that transition, then they go up the river.
Okay.
And they spawn, and it's pretty remarkable what happens. If you can catch the shad on the way up the river, that's the best way to catch the shad because it's the freshest.
Okay.
And they're still really very healthy.
Yeah.
They've just came in. They're not that tired, and And I just we do a small shad bake every year at the Mystic Pilots.
Yes.
In Mystic.
That's right.
And we just did that last weekend, and we served up 40 pounds of shad to them, and it was fantastic.
Was it?
Which is a good omen for us because we're getting ready for our shad bake at the Connecticut River Museum
Right.
on June 2nd, which
Right.
this is a much larger order for us
Exactly.
to pull off.
And you think you can pull it off?
We do it every year.
Yeah.
This year we've instituted a new program that we've been developing over the last few years, which is to be volunteer to be a Essex Rotarian for a day.
Okay.
I kind of like the notion of that, with everybody being so overcommitted with their career paths.
Oh, yeah.
This is still a way for people who have that altruistic side to them, who want to give back to their community, to come and do something that is not only really cool, and it's a one-of-a-kind event. And at the Connecticut River Museum, I don't think you could imagine a better place on the shore of the Connecticut River for the shad bake.
Exactly.
So that was part of the background story of, we outgrew the school,
Right.
and with all the changing requirements and safety regulations around children, we really needed to have a new home base.
Exactly.
And we were able to make an arrangement with Chris Dobbs, the executive director of the Connecticut River Museum, and I'm just thrilled to be part of this.
Now, how long has your partnership with the Connecticut River Museum been in effect?
This is our 5th year.
Okay.
And I think at first, in Connecticut, especially in a small community like Essex, any kind of change is not a welcoming thing.
Right.
But I had a very good feeling that bringing the shad back right to the Connecticut River Museum, which is very close to where the Dauntless Yacht Club started the whole event.
Okay.
I think was the right blend, the right location,
Right.
and I think the Connecticut River Museum just does a terrific job of promoting the Connecticut River Valley.
Oh, yeah.
And the fact that the Rotary Club can be a partner with them, I think it was just a win-win for everyone.
Exactly. And so the Shad Bake is in June.
June 2nd.
June 2nd.
Every year it's the first weekend of June.
Okay. And obviously it's at the Connecticut River Museum. But what's the time of the event?
We start serving, we have an open bar, and we have oysters and clams,
Okay.
which are, those are you have to pay extra for that.
Yep.
That's not in the ticket price. No. And then it's kind of really great to watch all the Rotarians doing their job, and a lot of people come, and the Connecticut River Museum has little exhibits and people who demonstrate deboning and the history of the shad. And it's a great time to just mill around. And also with the purchase of the Shad Bake ticket, you get free admission to the museum.
Cool.
And we start serving at 4:30.
Okay.
And there's usually an early rush, then a slowdown, and then there's the big rush.
Yeah.
And you can buy tickets on the day of the event.
Okay.
However, we really encourage you to buy them earlier. And we have Essex Hardware is going to be selling tickets for us. Centerbrook Package Store is going to be selling tickets for us. You can go on the website to the Connecticut River Museum. Their website's better than ours right now.
Okay.
I mean, we just don't have the resources in the technical department in the Rotary Club, but the Connecticut River Museum has theirs.
Okay. And what we've got a little bit of time left. What else do we want to tell everybody before we go into?
Come early.
Come early?
Yeah,
All right.
because parking is a little bit of a challenge in the downtown of Essex.
You know what? We'll talk about parking when we come back. Would you mind sticking around?
Absolutely.
We'll be right back.
Thomas, you've got prediabetes. But with more exercise and a change in diet, it can be reversed.
I've tried exercising. It just makes me hungry for bacon.
I love bacon too. And who really likes to exercise?
Not me.
Me neither.
Nobody. So we're good?
What? Oh, you still have prediabetes. Big time.
Oh, look, a redhead. Staring contest. You still got it. I know.
Come alive with the forest.
The dad was cute.
They were looking right at us.
Visit discovertheforest.org to find a forest near you.
And welcome back to this week's edition of the Pete Mezzetti Show. Sitting here with Joe from the Essex Rotary. Joe, welcome back.
Hi.
Hi there. And so we were talking about in the first segment the Shad Bake that you guys do, and we were talking right before we went into the break about coming early because I guess parking is very limited.
Well, we have, for those people who know the secret spots in Essex, and there are a lot of them,
Okay.
it's a good idea to be an hour or so early.
Okay.
It's a great place to walk around.
Right.
And then you can come on in and walk in around 3:30 and enjoy some clams and some oysters and some beers and enjoy the site. And then watch us do our magic, which is the actual nailing of the shad to these oak planks.
Okay.
They're about 30 inches square.
All right.
We take the fillets and we nail them to the boards with actual nails. And then
Really?
we have a secret sauce, which I'm not allowed to share the ingredients to.
Right.
And we do that. And then when it comes time to actually do the baking, meanwhile, we've been building this fire that we start at 2 o'clock. And we build this really big fire and we let it burn down so that we have the coals.
Right.
And it's a circle about 14 feet in diameter. And we have these stainless steel trays in the radius of the circle.
Right.
And then I have different colleagues that help. And in a way, it's kind of like, it's an amazing rhythm of effort. Everyone tends to know their job,
Right.
and they settle in, and people are nailers, some people are building the fire, some people are shucking the clams,
Yep.
some people are shucking some oysters. We also coordinate with the Connecticut River Museum. They handle the bar part of the equation.
Okay.
We also have this huge tent. It covers the whole area in front of the Connecticut River Museum.
Wow.
And all the tables are set up. We do the setup earlier in the day.
Okay.
And you have this beautiful view of the Essex Harbor.
Oh, yeah.
And then we have the fire in a safe place in the corner in the back. But every year, I want to say 30, 40, 50 people come and just observe how we do the baking. And then we basically have a very carefully timed baking process where we put the board on with the shad pre-nailed.
Yep.
And then the baking process goes on for about 20 minutes.
Okay.
But every 5 minutes we're putting on another board. So, and the boards are kind of heavy.
Yeah.
If you start hauling these boards around after an hour or so, you know you've done some heavy lifting.
Exactly.
And so you put on board 1, then board 2, and 3, and so forth. And then after the 20 minutes, we rotate the board. We literally take the board and turn it 180 degrees. We turn it over.
Right.
And we then continue the baking process for another 20 minutes. By now, the board, which is an inch thick red oak, is
screaming hot.
It's about 400 degrees in front of the board, and I've tested this with a device that measures temperature.
Okay.
And the fillets have the skin still on the back,
right,
and it acts as like a reflector, and it sticks to the board.
Gotcha.
And then when the shad comes off, it's probably, I want to say, 160 degrees. It's pretty hot.
Yeah.
You actually couldn't just grab a piece and eat it.
No.
But it starts to cool off,
right,
and so the idea here is to plate the shad as quickly as possible.
Right, exactly.
And that's why we like to encourage people to be on time there.
Right, come early.
Come early, and then as it comes off, it's just a delicacy in a way. It can't be replicated in a restaurant.
No,
it can't. And you're getting the aroma of the oak. You're getting the other flavors of the secret sauce that we put on the shad.
Exactly.
Also, because the shad came from the ocean, there's actual salt in the fish itself.
So it'll cure the fish.
And it's curing the fish.
Okay.
And so it's this whole combination of timing, heat, baking, smoke, the oak boards, and these boards have been seasoned. I want to say these boards are at least 25 years old.
Okay.
And actually, some of our previous Rotarians, one of them used to own Essex Boat Works, Stu Ingersoll.
Okay.
And I like to mention Stu. He was really pivotal to a leader in the club, a leader in the town, someone who was looked up to by all of us small business people.
Okay.
And I remember being in his shop making those boards back in the day before we had any screw guns or any of that. We did everything with a screwdriver, and it was all by hand.
Oh boy, that had to be fun.
It was.
Oh my God.
Very memorable.
I was going to say.
But we still use those boards to this day.
Okay.
We have enough boards to do the first round, and because we're going to be serving 700 people, we also have other food groups there for people who can't eat fish.
Don't want fish, right?
We have chicken, and we also have hot dogs for the kids.
Very nice.
But we then nail off the rest of the shad. As you probably know, shad is not inexpensive.
No, it's not.
So we don't waste anything.
No.
We've got this planned out. We usually do get the rush at the last minute people who don't buy their tickets in time. And I really hate to have to turn anybody away.
Right.
So it'd be great if you could buy your tickets in advance.
Pre-buy your tickets, pre-advance, and pre-sale.
I would like to add a few other things.
Yeah, go for it. We got time.
One of the characteristics that makes this the win-win is how and what we do with the money. A lot of people don't really understand how the Rotarian and the Rotary Club works with respect to the money side.
Right.
All the revenue that comes in is either used to pay for the products that we use. All the Rotarians volunteer their time, many volunteer equipment and other resources to help support the Shad Bake.
Right.
The key ingredient that makes a Shad Bake successful is the sponsors.
Yeah.
I myself sponsor the Shad Bake because I consider it one of the best events in Essex.
Okay.
My company, personally.
Yeah.
And the money is then split 50-50. The Connecticut River Museum gets 50% of the proceeds to use for their budget.
Right.
And our 50% goes to our scholarship foundation, which we've been building up since 1958.
Really?
And the money is, the proceeds from the Shad Bake go directly to students. All of the money, every bit of our 50% is all for scholarships. And each year we give out at least 4 scholarships to local residents. I think it's one of the best kept secrets.
That's a great thing.
In Essex, and
Exactly.
and I'm really thrilled to be part of that.
Well, good. Now, as you were explaining, one of the questions I had, I'm assuming, okay, so the Shad Bake's over, everybody's gone. Now, I'm assuming that after everything is done and over with, you guys wash down the boards, defishify the planks, and have to basically take all the nails out of the boards.
Well, I'm glad you asked about the nails. There's a fun story about that.
Oh boy.
About 30 years ago,
Okay.
before my time,
Right.
a very inventive Rotarian developed this tool it's an old-fashioned nail puller, but he changed the mechanism on the bottom,
Okay.
and we have a vacuum cleaner hose that's connected to it.
Ah.
And the fun thing in the Rotary Club is we like to make sure that whoever's doing this task is a doctor, because we
Yeah.
don't want any problems here.
Exactly.
And so when the nail is pulled out, the vacuum cleaner line sucks the nail into the vacuum cleaner. And
okay.
we have a group of people. It takes about 4 people and we call it the denailing table.
Okay.
And the denailing table is really where the celebrities are hanging out.
Right.
This is that's where the action is.
Okay.
And so all of the nails are retrieved there, and then all the boards are cleaned just as the event is ending.
Okay.
And then the next day, we have a special power washer, and we power wash with hot water. We clean all the boards, and we have a very clean, safe place that we store the boards in after the event. So we actually don't clean up until the next day.
Okay.
Completely.
Right.
And then we return the grounds to the Connecticut River Museum the way we found it. We clean it spotless, and we really pride ourselves as being good neighbors.
Exactly.
We work very hard to come in, do our job, and leave,
And get out.
and be there like we weren't there.
Exactly. Now, for the event, typically, when the day of the event, you guys are there probably first thing in the morning, setting up, and
we
then
set up in the morning first thing.
and then you're basically there all day. And
We actually start setting up on Friday afternoon.
okay.
And then we use all Sunday morning to do the balance of the preparation.
Okay.
And then the hard work starts at 2 o'clock.
Yep.
That's when we start the fire, and we work very closely with the health department
Right.
and all the officials,
Right.
Police department,
Yep.
everyone that's involved. And we are doing an open fire, so we use extreme caution.
Oh, yeah.
To do that. That's pretty much my responsibility.
Okay.
And knock on wood, I've been good at it, and hope to be doing it for many more years.
Exactly. And obviously, if people, when they're down there supporting the cause, if they want to come and watch you guys in action, do what you do. Obviously, they can watch from a safe distance away, so they don't get hurt, injured, burned.
None of that, but
Yeah.
you do need to you have to buy your ticket to get
Right.
to see the action.
Exactly.
Yep.
And tickets, again, are
$30.
okay.
They're available online from the Connecticut River Museum.
Right.
Or you can go to Essex Hardware, or you can go to the Centerbrook Package Store.
Okay.
Yep.
And have they started selling tickets yet, or
Yes.
is it a little too
No,
early?
it's right on time.
Okay.
Today's the 7th of May.
Right.
We usually sell all of our tickets within the next 3 weeks. This is it.
And obviously, it's just going to hopefully be a sellout crowd.
Hopes it
We're
has
hoping.
been.
Okay.
For as long as I've been involved, we've been able to. We have it set at 700, and that seems to be the right number of
The
people
magic
that
numbers?
fit into this space.
Okay.
That's actually one of our limits.
Yeah.
For parking and how many people can be there properly.
Right, because then you don't want to have somebody, the fire department show up or somebody, the health
They're
department
there.
show up.
We have arrangements with all of the officials for all those requirements.
Oh, nice.
Yep.
Very nice. Well, we've got a little bit more time left, so what else do we want to tell everybody about the Rotary before we say goodnight?
Well, I think the first thing I want to do is say if you want to volunteer
Yep.
and help be a Rotarian volunteer for a day,
Sure.
If you just go to the Connecticut Rotary Museum, there's a link, and you can reach out to me, Joseph Shea, at the Essex, at the Rotary Club of Essex.
Okay. And our website one more time to get tickets for the event.
The best place to go is the Connecticut Rotary Museum website.
Okay. And all right, we've got about a couple seconds left, so we're gonna basically, before we say goodnight, I want to thank you for coming down and spending about a half hour with me and supporting the great cause, and hopefully it's in my schedule to be there that evening, and hopefully everything goes well.
Pete, thank you so much for having us on your show.
Joe, it's my pleasure, and hopefully we'll see you again soon.
You bet.
On behalf of Joe Shea, I'm Pete Mezzetti. Thanks, good night, and we'll see you next time.